Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day of reading mythology with Daniel and finding hope through faith. So last time we were together, we were talking about Perseus and his journey out there to kill Medusa, and how he was set up for success by the gods, and the gods are watching his back. Which for any other Joe, it would have been a suicide mission. But I guess there's still some kind of danger, because he could still die, right? Hope everybody's doing well. Right now it's starting to get warm where I am at, but hopefully it kind of turns into February. That'd be really nice. So as we go through, we still have some time on the story to go, but as we go through, we will talk about it like I normally do, and then comment on the stuff that's happening in here. Anyway, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and then I'm going to move forward. Thank y'all for coming to see me. All right. Let's see. So we're going to go back talking about the three witches and the one eye that they shared. So yeah. Okay. Then before she could give it to her sister, he snatched it out of her hand. It was a moment or two before the three realized they had lost it. Each thought one of the others had it, but Perseus spoke out and told them that he had taken it and that it would be theirs again, only when they showed him how to find the nymphs of the north. They gave him full directions at once. They would have done anyway to get their eye back. He returned it to them, and on the way they had pointed out to him. He was bound, although he did not know it, to the blessed country of the... I gotta look it up. He was bound, although he did not know it, to the blessed country of the Hyperboreans, at the back of the north wind, of which it said, neither by ship nor yet by land shall one find the wondrous road to the gathering place of the Hyperboreans. But Perseus had Hermes with him, so that the road lay open to him, and he reached that host of happy people who were always banqueting and holding joyful revelry. They showed him great kindness and welcomed him to their feast, and the maidens dancing to the sound of flute and lyre paused to get for him the gifts he sought. These were 3 winged sandals, a magic wallet, which would always become the right size for whatever it was to be carried in it, and most important of all, a cap which made the wearer invisible. With these, and Athena's shield and Hermes' sword, Perseus was ready for the Gorgons. Hermes knew where they lived, and leaving the happy land, the two flew black across the ocean and over the sea to the terrible sisters' island. By great good fortune, they were all asleep when Perseus found them. In the mirror of the bright shield, he could see them clearly. Creatures with great wings and bodies covered with golden scales and hair a mass of twisting snakes. Athena was beside him now, as well as Hermes. They told him which one was Medusa, and that it was important, for she alone of the 3 could be killed. The other 2 were immortal. Oh, I didn't know that. Perseus, on his winged sandals, hovered above them, looking, however, only at the shield. Then he aimed a stroke down at Medusa's throat, and Athena guided his hand. With a single sweep of his sword, he cut through her neck, and his eyes still fixed on the shield, with never a glance at her. He swooped low enough to seize the head. He dropped it into the wallet and closed around it. That's good. He had nothing to fear from it now, but the 2 other Gorgons had awakened and, horrified at the sight of their sister slain, tried to pursue the slayer. Perseus was safe. He had on the cap of darkness, and they could not find him. So over the sea, rich-haired Danae's son, Perseus, on his winged sandals, sped, flying swift as thought in a wallet of silver, a wonder to behold. He bore the head of a monster, while Hermes, the son of Maya, the messenger of Zeus, kept ever at his side. And this is the picture that they came up with. It's a pretty cool looking picture. On his way back, he came to Ethiopia and alighted there. By this time, Hermes had left him. Perseus found, as Hercules was later to find, that a lovely maiden had been given up to be devoured by a horrible sea serpent. Her name was Andromeda. She was the daughter of a silly, vain woman. That starred Aethop queen who strove to set her beauty's praise above the sea nymphs, and their power often offended. Offended? It looks like offended. Yeah. She had boasted that she was more beautiful than the daughters of Nereus, the sea god. An absolutely certain way in those days to draw down on a wretched fate was to claim superiority in anything over any deity. Nevertheless, people were perpetually doing so. In this case, the punishment for the arrogance the gods detested fell not on Queen Cassiopeia, Andromeda's mother, but on her daughter. Oh no. The Ethiopians were being devoured in numbers by the serpent, and learning from the oracle that they could be freed from the pest only if Andromeda were offered up to it. They forced Cephalus, her father, to consent. When Perseus arrived, the maiden was on a rocky ledge by the sea, chained there to wait for the coming of the monster. Perseus saw her, and on the instant loved her. He waited beside her until the great snake came for its prey. Then he cut its head off, just as he had done the Gorgons. The headless body dropped back into the water, which is probably a delicious meal for them. Perseus took Andromeda to her parents and asked for her hand, which they gladly gave him. I get love at first sight, I do. But going from love at first sight to marriage, that seems kind of... It's like you're supposed to figure things out as you go, I guess. With her, he sailed back to the island and his mother. But in the house where he had lived so long, he found no one. The fisherman, Dictys' wife, was long since dead, and the two others, Danae and the man who had been like a father to Perseus, had. Interesting. To fly and hide themselves from Polydictus, who was furious at Danae's refusal to marry him. They had taken refuge in a temple, Perseus was told. He learned also that the king was holding a banquet in the palace, and all the men who favored him were gathered there. Perseus instantly saw an opportunity. I wonder if he's going to whip that head out and freeze all of them, turn them all into stone. He went straight to the palace and entered the hall. As he stood at the entrance, Athena's shining buckler on his breast, the silver wallet on his side, he drew the eyes of every man there. Then before any could look away, he held up the Gorgon's head. Man, look at that. Good. And at the sight, one and all, the cruel king and his servile courtiers, were turned into stone. There they sat, a row of statues, each as it were frozen stiff in the attitude he had struck when he first saw Perseus. When the islanders knew themselves freed from the tyrant, it was easy for Perseus to find Danae and Dictys. He made Dictys king of the island, but he and his mother decided they would go back with Andromeda to Greece and try to be reconciled to Acrisius. See if many years that had passed since he had put them in the chest had not softened him, so he would be glad to receive his daughter and grandson. Just put him in a chest, huh? It's like Mad-Eye Moody. When they reached Argos, however, they found that he had been driven away from the city, and where he was no one could say. It happened that soon after their arrival, Perseus heard that King of Larissa in the north was holding a great athletic contest. He journeyed there to take part. In the discus throwing, when his turn came and he hurled a heavy missile, it swerved and fell among the spectators. Acrisius was there on a visit to the king, and the discus struck him. The blow was fatal, and he died at once. Well, that's fantastic. So Apollo's oracle was again proved true. If Perseus felt any grief, at least he knew that his grandfather had done his best to kill him and his mother. With his death, their troubles came to an end. Perseus and Andromeda lived happily ever after. Their son, it looks like Electron, was the grandfather of Hercules. Medusa's head was given away to Athena, who bore it always upon the Aegeus, Zeus's shield, which he carried for him. That'd be a great weapon to have. I'm just going to throw that out there. You know, if it can just open the eyes, just like, bloop, stone. That'd be dangerous, too. Getting the wrong person, getting the wrong hands. I guess that's why Zeus had it, and not just some regular Joe. All right, this one is about Theseus. The great Athenian hero was Theseus. He had so many adventures and took part in so many great enterprises that there grew up a saying in Athens, nothing without Theseus. He was a son of the Athenian king Aegeus. He spent his youth, however, in his mother's home, a city in southern Greece. Aegeus went back to Athens before the child was born. But first he placed in a hollow sword and a pair of shoes and covered them with a great stone. He did this with the knowledge of his wife and told her that whenever the boy, if it was a boy, grew strong enough to roll away the stone and get the things beneath it, she could send him to Athens to claim him as his father. The child was a boy, and he grew up strong, far beyond others, so that when his mother finally took him to the stone, he lifted it with no trouble at all. She told him then that the time had come for him to seek his father, and a ship was placed at his disposal by his grandfather. But Theseus refused to go by water, because the voyage was safe and easy. His idea was to become a great hero as quickly as possible, and easy safety was certain not to be the way to do that. Hercules, who was the most magnificent of all the heroes of Greece, was always in his mind, and the determination to be just as magnificent himself. This was quite natural, since the two were cousins. Okay. It seems kind of messed up. I mean, I guess he was a king, right? But at the same time, he's just like, yeah, if he becomes strong enough, he can. What if he's too weak that he couldn't move it? And then what would he do? He would never meet his dad? It's kind of messed up. He steadfastly refused. Therefore, the ship his mother and grandfather urged on him, telling them that to sail on it would be contemptible flight from danger. And he set forth to go to Athens by land. Their journey was long and very hazardous because of the bandits that beset the road. He killed them all, however. He left not one alive to trouble the future travelers. His idea of dealing justice was simple but effective. What each had done to others, Theseus did to him. Sciron, for instance, who made those he captured kneel to wash his feet and then kicked them down into the sea, Theseus hurled over a precipice. Sinis, who killed people by fastening them to 2 pine trees bent down to the ground and letting the trees go, died in that way himself. Procrustes, was placed upon the iron bed which he used for his victims, tying them to it and making them the right length for it by stretching those who were too short and cutting off as much as was necessary from those who were too long. The story does not say which of the two methods was used in this case, but there was not much to choose between them, and in one way or the other, his career ended. That's brutal, man. I mean, an eye for an eye. It does say that in the Christian Bible. I mean, we read that before. It says an eye for an eye. It can be imagined how Greece rang with praises of the young man who had cleared the land of these banes to travelers. When he reached Athens, he was acknowledged a hero, and he was invited to a banquet by the king, who of course was unaware that Theseus was his son. In fact, he was afraid of the young man's great popularity, thinking that he might win the people over and make him king, and he invited him with the idea of poisoning him. The plan was not his, but Medea's, the heroine of the Quest of the Golden Fleece, who knew through her sorcery who Theseus was. Oh man, who didn't see this twist coming? I know I didn't. She had fled to Athens and when she left Corinth in her winged car, and she had acquired great influence over Aegeus, which she did not want, disturbed by the appearance of a son. We're going to pause there. This one's going to be good. Well, like I said, why would you piss off a witch? You pissed them off. You pissed her off. Now she's going to take her vengeance out on everybody. It's not going to be good. And now people that have nothing to do with it are going to pay this ultimate price. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time.